In this video, I'd like to demonstrate the layout procedure, the location of the lines onto your sheet metal or your airfoil rib. The first thing I've done is I've established a line 1/2 inch from the right-hand side of the 5 1/4 inch by 12 inch plate that I've asked you to cut of 032 material. I'm going to use these little squares to assist me in demonstrating this. The first step is to draw the layout line 1/2 inch in, find the center point of that line, and draw a perpendicular line, which means 90 degrees to that line. And I've got a 90-degree square here. I'm going to draw that one with a red pen. That becomes my center line of my rib. That line is not quite long enough, so I'm going to extend it by turning my square this way here because I want it to go right off the other end of the material. There I've got a center line, and I can even identify it with a CL abbreviation, identifying that as a center line of the rib. The next line I want to draw is my 10 3/8 inch or 10.375 layout line at the large end of the rib. I want to remain perpendicular to the center line that I've just drawn, and I want to remain 10 and 0.375. So I've got a ruler here. I'm going to use the 1 inch mark at the beginning of the first layout line at the small end of the rib. I'll go 11.375 because I'm at the 1 inch mark, not at the end of the ruler. So that's why it's 11.375. Draw a line perpendicular to the center line. And I can extend that line using my little squares. So you could use metal pieces for this too. I want to make sure that I haven't moved anything, so I end up with a nice straight line across my material. So there's my large layout line, and there's my small end of the rib layout line. Another way you could do this is if you had a square and you placed a square onto the table and taped it down like I've done here, using that line as to line up the square, and then you slide it down here and it draws the other large end parallel. So the two layout lines are parallel to each other and perpendicular to the center line. This allows you to get a high degree of accuracy when you're doing your layout. The next step, I'll be marking the location of the inside band tangent lines. So I'm going to change colors here to a blue pen. At the small end of the rib, I'm going to measure half the flat distance to the location of the inside band tangent line. And you'll have that dimension calculated out. And I'm going to measure halfway on each side. That's the location of the inside bend tangent lines at the small end of the rib. And on the 10 3/8, I'm going to measure the location of the inside bend tangent lines on that large end layout line. Now it says in the instructions to connect those points. So we can use our ruler here and we can draw the inside bend tangent lines. This establishes the angle of the rib. This is how we establish the angle, by using this dimension. From the inside bend tangent line on the small end to the inside bend tangent line location on the large end layout lines. There. Now while I'm at it, I might as well draw the third inside bend tangent line. So I'll measure from the end of the rib the required distance to the inside bend tangent line. And once again, I have to remain parallel to the layout line and perpendicular to the center line. So I can do this in a couple ways. I'm just going to use my squares as a guide, drawing parallel lines. From inside bend tangent line to inside bend tangent line. So I've got all the inside bend tangent lines drawn in blue. The next step is to draw the outside bend tangent lines and the end of the rib, end of the flange lines. Remain 90 degrees to the inside bend tangent lines that you've just drawn for the flanges, and I can use the end of the ruler. I can line it up here on the inside bend tangent line, use the end of the ruler, and that'll give me a 90 degree. I'll do it on this side so you can see what I'm talking about again. It's 90 degrees perpendicular to the inside bend tangent line at that end, and the same at the other end. And this is why we stayed a ½ an inch away from the far end. Because it sticks over. There it is. A lot of precise drawing. And we have lines that are on. So now I'll have to measure the distance from the inside bend tangent line to the outside bend tangent line along that line. That is called the bend allowance. So that's my bend allowance dimension. The first thing I do is draw the bend allowance location here. And while I'm at it, I'm going to mark the location of the end of the rib. And it is right there. Come over here, mark the bend allowance, and have to extend it just a little bit to mark the end of the rib. The end of the flange, the end of the rib marks, I can draw them in green, just to give them a different color. And the inside bend tangent, the outside end bend tangent line, sorry, I might as well connect those points as well. And I'll go back to the blue ink for that one. So my inside bend tangent lines are in blue. The end of the flange is in green. I'm going to repeat the process for the other flange here. Extend this line. That's where my green line will be, and my bend allowance actually is right there. Distance to the inside bend tangent line. Connect my inside bend tangent lines. Or sorry, my outside bend tangent line now, those points. So the distance between the outside bend tangent line and the inside bend tangent line is called bend allowance. And so I can put a BA here. That's bend allowance. The end of the flange of the rib is marked in green. And so the green line can go beyond. I'm going to measure from the end of the rib at the small end to the total developed width, which I've determined at the large end here. This is the end of the large flange, which is going to be in green. And while I'm at it, I'll switch to the blue pen, and I'm going to measure the bend allowance, which is the distance from the inside bend tangent line to the outside bend tangent line of the large end of the rib, the small flange. And while I'm on the center line, I might as well mark the locations of the lightning holes at the 5-inch and the 8-inch locations. That's where my lightning holes are going to be. And I go back to using a blue pen. Drawing a line parallel to the layout line. That's my outside bend tangent line. Remaining perpendicular to the inside bend tangent line. I'm going to do it this way here. I can measure the distance to the end of the flange, which I've already done. And I'll do this one here. I don't know if you can see this. Put my fingers around this way. From the inside bend tangent line intersection, I'll draw out my flange. Probably should have been drawn in green. I'm going to go back to the green pen here. I'm going to go like this. Parallel to the layout line, parallel to the inside bend tangent line, parallel to the outside bend tangent line is the end of the rib. Marked in green. The only mistake I got on here is this line should be green. This line will go green because that'll be the cutout line. So along the green lines is the cut line where I'll be cutting the material and trimming it to size to make my rib. I've got the inside bend tangent line, the outside bend tangent line, the end of the rib, end of the flange, end of the flange, end of the flange in green, all marked. Only thing left to mark on there now is the sight line. And of course the sight line depends upon how you're going to bend it. In our case, we'll be bending it from with the brake, with the flange being placed under the nose bar of the brake. So the sight line will always be one bend radius from the outside bend tangent line in. So I'd measure that distance, and I'll do it on the one side here for you. It's sometimes good to add these numbers together mathematically, the small numbers, and then once you get a 3 decimal place larger number, to average it out. So if I was to start at the 1-inch mark here, I go to the inside bend tangent line, and then 1/8 of an inch in from that is where my sight line would be. 1/8 of an inch in from that, where my sight line would be. And I'm going to mark that in green as well. And on the instructions, we have that sight line identified as a dotted line. And the sight line is the line that you're going to see when you go to bend the material in the brake. It's actually your most important line, but in order to get to the sight line, you had to figure out where the inside bend tangent line was, the outside bend tangent line was, the end of the rib line, so that you can measure back and mark your sight line. You place the sight line on here. You'll see that it's very, very close to the layout line, but it's not the layout line. As a matter of fact, once you've drawn that layout line, it may be a good idea to take alcohol and erase it so that you don't get yourself confused when you go to bend it. Another way I like to do it is by using a different color. I use a different color felt marker, borrow one from a friend, or come and see the instructor to mark your sight lines, because your sight lines are the ones that you want to have under the nose bar of the brake when you go to bend it. Don't get confused by all the other lines. So I hope this little demonstration will assist you when you're doing your layout, placing all these lines onto the bare metal. I've removed the plastic, drawing right on the metal, a little bit of masking tape, give me some contrast, allows me to cut precisely the size of the material and bend precisely along the sight lines. And don't forget to sign out each step as you go along, so that if you have to take a break or lunch period, you know where you left off when you come back.